Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be covering variables. Variables are very important in Python, and there are a number of different variable types that we're going to cover in this video. So let's get started. Before we can start writing variables, we have to first know what a valid variable is as well as an invalid variable. So I've already written some valid and invalid variables right here on the program. I wrote them in comments. And if you don't know what a comment is, be sure to check out my previous video. I talk about comments and print statements, and I'll leave that video in the description below. So a valid variable, let's say for instance, we use color as an example. You can write color lowercase, and then you can also write it in uppercase. These are not the same. Variables are case sensitive. Now you can also have a underscore in front of color, and you can also have it behind color. And then you can have a number behind color as well. And then the last example that I'll give is new underscore color. Just as long as you put an underscore in it, it'll be valid. Now, invalid variables. You can't have a number in front of a variable. And you can't have a special character behind the variable as well that you're trying to establish. So color underscore is valid, but the star behind it is not. Now you can't have a special character in front of color with the exception of the underscore. So plus, for instance, and minus, star, the division sign, you can't have that in front of color. And then you can't have two separate words to establish a variable unless there's an underscore between those words, such as up top right here. Now that we've established what invalid and valid variables are, we can now talk about the type of variables. So the first type that I'm going to talk about is an integer. So let's go ahead and write in a comment integer, and you can say score is equal to 100. Now notice I've put spaces between the score, equals, and 100. You always want to make sure that your code is clean and readable. All right. And then the next one, we want to do a float. A float is basically all it is just a number that's in decimal form. All right. And the next one we want to do is this is right. And we'll say that this is true. Oh, and I forgot to put the type. So this is what's known as a Boolean. A Boolean is either true or false. So I'll just say that is right is true. And then the last one that we're going to talk about, these are the four common ones, is I'll just say name, and let's say Anthony. And I made a mistake just now, but that's good because I want to show you what I did. So this one is what's known as a string. And the mistake that I made was I forgot to put this in parentheses. A string is always going to be in parentheses. Strings usually denote names or words in general, with the exception of true or false. All right, now what we can do is we can actually implement print statements. And as I mentioned before about comments, I also did that same video with print statements as well. So that video will be linked in the description below. So if I want to print the variable that I created, we can do that. And whenever you print that, what's interesting about this is it will print the information that's stored within that variable. So if I print, I stored name, the string of Anthony, within the variable name. If I print name, then Anthony will be outputted. Let's try something else. Let's try print is right. Okay, so it prints true. And I can do the same thing. I'm only going to do one more. If I print rank, it'll print name, the variable name, it'll print the variable is right, and it'll also print the variable rank. And there you go, right here. I want to show you one more thing. I did talk about giving an error if I were to create an invalid variable. So let's go ahead and show you what that does. So if I were to say color, I'll just use this as an example. I'll copy and paste this. And I'll try to give this let's say, blue, a color. Notice there's this PyCharm automatically detects the error right here. So you can see it's, the underline, it's red. And you can also see this red exclamation point sign as well. You also notice at the bottom left-hand side, you'll see problems. So let's try to run this. So notice that whenever you give an invalid syntax, such as this, it'll tell you exactly where the code is. So line 27, line 27. So whenever you're creating code and writing code, pay attention to any mistakes that you might make. And also pay attention to, if you do make a mistake, any errors whenever you run the code. It'll tell you exactly where the code is. And also, if there's something that you don't understand, every developer does this. If there's something that the program is telling you that you don't understand, copy and paste this into Google. I have definitely had some issues whenever I was writing code where I didn't understand what the error might have meant. You're not going to know everything. So, I've typed things into Google. I've copied and pasted things into Google. And, at most times Google was able to help me figure out what the error actually meant. And I was able to fix my code. Alrighty. So that will be the end of this tutorial. We went over the types of variables. We also went over valid and invalid variables. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments below. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video. And I'll see you in the next one.